What is up, YouTube? It's your boy Bees coming to you with another old school RuneScape beginner's guide. This time we're going to be taking an in-depth look at the fight caves so that someone with no experience or minimal gear can hopefully get to Jad by their first try and kill him by at most their second try. Before we get started, I just want to let you know that there's timestamps in the description below, so if you're here for specific mechanics you can just look down there and skip the rest of the information. A lot of fire cave guides that I've seen just AFK in the middle and tell you to attack everything, and for beginners that's not really feasible, and if you have something like one defense it's also not a good option. So what the goal of this guide is to show you that if you know the mechanics and know how to handle each and every wave, you can get a fire cave with minimal stats and gear. I'm going to be doing this on a 1 defense 30 HP 61 range account just to show you that if you can break down the fight caves, you don't need to have the best gear and you don't need to have the best stats. They do help, but they're not necessary. For starters, you can get to the fight caves by going into the dungeon on the Karamja volcano, then immediately going in through the next cave, then follow the path on the bottom to the fight caves. There's a bank directly outside of them, so you can gear up here before you go in. The fight caves consist of 63 waves. Within the waves themselves, 1 through 62, there is only 6 monsters, with Jad and the healers being the 7th and 8th monsters only appearing on the final wave. Starting at the top, you have a level 22 bird. It smites you if it even touches you, regardless of if it hits or not. So the method for killing this is hitting it, run back, hit it, run back to keep it as far away from you as possible. As long as you get it trapped behind something, you don't have to worry about it, but otherwise it should always be your #1 priority. Below that, you have a level 45 blob. It hits hard, but you can get it trapped around most walls. Once you kill it, it breaks down into the smaller blobs right below it, 2 level 22s. Those don't hit that hard, but if you have 1 defense, they will hit you, so kill them as they come at you. Next, we have the level 90 Ranger. When this is alive in the first wave, all you have to do is pray range and kill it. And then you have the 180 melee, you can get this trapped around walls. And then you have the 360, which is the Major. If the Major is alive and it is on you, you are always praying mage. It can hit up to 54 and kill you really fast. The other thing to keep in mind is the Ranger and the Mage can both melee you if you get too close, so you want to keep your distance. I like to describe the waves as operating like a carnival reward system where you have to trade in smaller prizes to get bigger prizes. So on the top left you can see wave 1 starts with there's 122, and then wave 2 starts with 2 22s. And once you kill both 22s, you trade those in for a 45 and the process starts again, all the way up until you finally can trade in 2 360s for 1 Toxet Jad. As far as recommended stats go, for defense you only need 1. Anything higher does make it easier, but you really only need 1. For range, I recommend 70 to 80. 80 just makes it a lot easier. You can do it with 50 if you want to suffer through with a magic short bow, and this is the perfect guide to learn how to do that, so it would be foolish of me to not mention that. You can do it at 50 pretty easily. As far as magic goes, you don't need any magic, but if you want to cheese it and use ancient spells to heal with the blood rush at level 56, you can, but otherwise you don't need any magic levels. Here's a tier list I put together of equipment I think works really well for the fight caves. You can find a lot of videos that go into this and nitpick it. It's mostly about what you have and what you can make work. As for Ironman go, I know that a lot of this gear is either unattainable or you don't have it yet, and so that's why there is multiple options. It's okay to go with a Coif Power Ami, Abba's Accumulator, Monk Robe Top, Black D'Hide Chaps, Myth Gloves, and Boots of Lightness with the Ring of Recoil. That's fine. This just gives you a list of things that are kind of like, okay, I don't have what's on the left, so what's next? Okay, I don't have that, what's next? Okay, I have this, let me move to the next item. The one thing I do want to mention is that after Black D'Hide you have Void. I only included the top because this is kind of the main part, or your main item that gives you the most bonuses when you're doing the fight caves. If you don't have Black D'Hide or Carol's or God D'Hide, just use full Void. It's going to be better than Proselyte or Monk Robes or anything like that. However, if you're only 1 defense, you obviously can't use Void, so you're going to have to choose from the Monk top and the God Robe top. You can also mess with the Ranger's Tunic if you'd like, but I didn't include that on this list. For the weapons, it goes best from top to bottom. Blowpipe is kind of unrealistic for Ironman if you still don't have a fire cape, but there's peers and normal accounts that are hopefully watching this guide too, so I recommend that. Otherwise, you have the Carol's bow. The one thing that you need to pay attention to is Carol's bow is the only time that a different skill cape other than range cape or a god cloak is viable. Otherwise you want to use an Abbo's accumulator or a tractor to get your ammo back. And near the bottom I have a bone crossbow, and you might be thinking that's stupid, and you're right. Please don't use it. You can, but it's so much more worth it to just get your range up to be able to use something better. Here are some examples of inventory and gear that I would bring into the fight caves. Within the inventory, I try to get somewhere between 16 and 20 prayer restoring potions, whether that be super restore or prayer potions, and then I use the rest for either food, brews, or ranging potions, or even a gear switch if I want to bring my magic, my rune pouch, or different bolts. I recommend for ammo to have about 2,000 bolts total. Definitely if you have bolt racks, bring 2,000. With an Abbo's accumulator, if you're bringing your ammo back to you, you can get away with closer to 1,000 though. Something worth mentioning for Ironman and low level peers is the use of high healing single slot food. So baskets of strawberries, purple sweets, chopped onions are all examples of this. The reason you use these is because in the fight caves you don't take a lot of damage at once. If you do, you probably already died. It's a lot of small damage over time, and by using these single inventory space items that heal a lot of HP, you're able to maximize each inventory slot. Throughout the waves you're going to be running around a lot and getting things trapped on rocks. I put together a little map that shows you where the monster is coming from and if it'll get trapped. So the red arrows mean the monster is coming from that angle and will get stuck around the rock. The green arrow means it can actually continue on towards you. I messed up a little bit on the left side, the northwestern one, but I edited it slightly, so hopefully that's not too confusing. There's only 5 locations in the fight caves that monsters can spawn from that are depicted on the picture in front of us. We have northwest, center, southwest, south, and southeast. In the northeast you have a blue dot, and that is showing if the character or you are standing up there, the direct path that each monster will take. And you can take note of this, we'll come back to it later, but you can see that south, southeast, and northwest all get trapped on a rock, whereas southwest and central can come straight towards you. For the majority of the waves, you're going to be using this northern rock in order to safe spot and stay safe. This goes against a lot of other guides that I've seen, but I believe it to be correct. A lot of other guides use the Italy rock on the east, but for the most part, you're going to want to use the northern wave. The only time you're going to move away from these 3 spots is if there is a mage and ranger on the same wave. Otherwise, I'm going to show you exactly how to manipulate this rock and the monsters around it to just always stay safe and take no damage. For waves 38 through 45 and 53 through 60, there is a mage and a ranger that spawn at the same time, and so your goal is to always get one of them trapped, so you only have to pray against one of them while you kill everything else, and then handle the one you had trapped on its own. For that, you are going to move to the northeastern part of the map, and you'll use these next 4 safe spots, and I'll show you how to use those in a little bit also. The final spots you need to have a brief understanding of is the number 8 and 9 on the screen, and these are going to be used to cheese waves where the melee, mage, and ranger spawn if you're not able to trap them easily in the northeast. There's a comprehensive list of fight cave rotations that cover every single one, and so if you figure out your rotation based off your first 3 or 4 waves, you can actually figure out where every single monster is going to spawn, including Jad. And so I'm going to show you how to use that real quick. So what you're going to see me do is run in and track down where the monsters are spawning in my public chat. Once I finish wave 3, if I need to see where wave 4 is based on rotations 7 and 8, I will. Otherwise, I'll get to a safe spot and cross-reference my rotation and figure out which one I have that I can use for the rest of the waves. Something to keep in mind is this safe spot, the tile that I'm on currently, is only a safe spot if the monsters are coming directly south up the wall. If they're coming from the west, they can just go straight onto you. I don't know why the game works that way, but it is how it is, and so this is a really good spot to figure out what rotation you have. After you figure out your rotation, we're just going to use the northern wall, and we'll mess around the east and west side of it based on where the monsters spawn up until wave 38, where we will eventually move over to the northeastern side. All you're going to want to do is start on the tile that is south of the wall that I have marked, and then run either east or west depending on where the monsters spawn, pull them up to you, and then just kill them from the back to the front. Once the ranger spawns, you can go find it, but eventually when the 45 spawns with it, you're going to go back to your safe spot, and you'll have to just go all the way north to pull the ranger into you, and I'm going to show you how to do that. But one thing I should mention is throughout this video, you're going to see me prayer flicking. You do not have to prayer flick. I only did that because I am such low stats. If you want to do it on low stats and you want to prayer flick, the thing I'll tell you is that every single monster attacks on 4 ticks. So if you can figure out the rhythm to flick the ranger, you can figure out how to flick all of them. But for the purposes of a beginner video, just keep your prayer up when something is attacking you that you need to pray against. For waves with either a range and a melee or a mage and a melee, all you do is stay in the same spot and then run up the wall to pull the ranger or the mage close enough to you that you can hit it. If the melee spawns to the west, just run to the east, and then you can pull everything else close enough to you, and then you can run back to your starting spot to get everything else trapped on that side while you kill the ranger or the mage. If the ranger or the mage spawns to the west, all you do is run all the way east, touch the tile marked next to the vent, and then run back to your western spot, and everything will get trapped, and the mage or the ranger will be close enough to the wall that you can hit it without the melee getting untrapped to come hit you. A nice trick for getting ready for your next wave, whether it be looking at the rotation to figure out where you need to be or just getting to where you need to be, is keeping one of the melee minions alive, whether it be a small level 22 or a big 180. It doesn't matter, but you can keep it alive and pull it with you so that you are always in the right spot at the start of the next wave. Standing in the northeast allows you to trap whatever spawns south and southeast, south of the Italy rock, and whatever spawns northwest will stay west of the northern rock. And so you can see that I have tiles marked, and these coincide with the lines that I have drawn on the map. Basically, when you step past the tile markings that represent the green line, anything west of the rock can now come attack you, and if you step west of the red line, anything south of the rock can now attack you. So what this means is you have to be careful with where you're stepping and be cognizant of which ones you want to let free first. So the most common thing to do is to go all the way southeast on that tile that is marked and bring the ones that are west to you before you handle the ones that are south. You might want to play that back and listen to it again. I realized that was a lot of directions at once. Depending on where the monsters spawn, it might not be the best to start northeast, and that's something you just need to figure out on your own, and that's what I'm hoping to give you the information to do. So here's an example of a wave where if I were to stay northeast, the ranger and the melee would both come to me, and it was just easier for me to go northwest and get everything to stack horizontally so that I could take them one at a time. Something else you can do if you find a wave that you're not really sure how to trap them is to actually just use the monsters to your advantage. One trick you can use if the mage and ranger get stacked in the southern wall, or if you just want to pull them closer to you in order to prep for the next wave, is by running from this tile to the tile west of it and then immediately back, and it'll pull just one of them to you. The last thing I want you to understand about the waves is that sometimes shit just pops off, and it's good to have some high healing food in your inventory for that case, but the biggest thing is just stay calm and don't forget to move. On wave 62, the bright orange 360 is going to spawn in the exact same spot as Jad every single time, so if you want to test out your start spot for the spawn, you can and see how it reacts, and that is exactly how Jad is going to react to you too, so that'll let you know if you're safe and can gather your thoughts, or if the spot you chose is actually dangerous and Jad will hit you right away. A couple pieces of advice I have for Jad is if you're the type of person to get nervous, chew gum because it limits your body's fight or flight reaction that you might have. Focus on Jad and focus on his prayers before doing anything. So if you want to eat or drink a prayer potion, you need to get the correct prayer and then do it. If you want to attack a healer to get it onto you, you need to watch and get the correct prayer, attack a healer, and then watch for the next correct prayer. If Jad hits you and you mess up, which might happen, that's okay. Don't worry about eating right away as much as getting the next prayer correct, because if you mess up a prayer and decide to you need to eat instead of get your other prayer correct, you might just get stacked out and die. So I recommend pulling up a YouTube video and pulling it next to your client and clicking your prayers alongside the players and just focusing on Jad and kind of using it as a simulator so that by the time you get to Jad, you already are comfortable prayer switching. The things you need to know about Jad is that when he hovers in the air, that's his magic attack, and when he stomps the ground, that's his range attack. A lot of guides out there will tell you to use sounds, but since you know the rotation and know where he's going to spawn, I don't think you need sounds. When healers spawn, the easiest thing in my mind to do is hit all the healers, wait for him to attack you, throw on protect from melee, and run straight through him, and then react if you see one of his other attacks come. And then that way the healers are guaranteed to be trapped on the other side of him, and you don't have to tank them or take them away from Jad where you lose sight of him to kill them. If you do end up killing the healers, you need to know that if they heal Jad to full HP before you kill them, they will respawn when you get them back down to half HP. So I personally recommend just luring them and tanking them, like I said before, rather than killing them. Thanks for watching my Old School Runescape Fight Caves guide. I hope you get some useful information from this. Make sure you like, subscribe, and give me a comment, give me some feedback. I appreciate all the feedback. And also check the description for some helpful links that might help you as well.